To light up the fireplace here in Akron, Ohio, as the Zips get ready to take on the Eagles of Eastern Michigan. The wind chill is down to 10 degrees and the snow has been falling for the last 24 hours. Max showdown between Eastern Michigan and Akron coming up in just a few. We welcome you inside InfoCision Stadium here on the campus of Akron. The Zips getting ready to take on Eastern Michigan. Akron looking for its first win of the year. Eastern Michigan still in the hunt for another bowl game. It would be their third in the last 4 seasons. And with that, we say hello and welcome, everybody. Mike Morgan alongside the former linebacker Ray Bentley. And Ray, when you talk about this type of environment, we love snow. I mean, it's fun to watch football in the snow. But as a former player, did you like this or did you not like it?
Yeah, I liked it. I don't think cold's going to be too big of a factor. Maybe for the skill guys, got to keep the hands warm. But I was never cold. Maybe once playing the Browns, that gets a little chilly every once in a while. But I don't think it'll affect this game too much unless the snow covers the field. If you get that, now the offense gets the advantage. They know where they're going. Defense has to react, and then you might get some extra stuff on the offensive side.
Snow or no snow, the cold is no joke. A 10-degree wind chill that could affect the quarterback play. And we've got one of the better quarterbacks in the MAC in Mike Glass.
Yeah, Mike Glass is an outstanding quarterback. Leads the MAC in passing yards coming into tonight's ball game. And he's a dual threat guy. He can do it all. I'm real impressed with his athleticism and the strength of his arm. He can throw the ball 70 yards from a knee, from what I'm told. He's also a dual threat guy, can run it in. But when he gets hot and is accurate and extends plays with the feet, he can get this offense rolling, and that's what he's looking to do here tonight.
And of course, Mike Glass and this passing attack for Eastern Michigan, one of the more potent ones in the MAC, and they'll be going up against a playmaker at linebacker, a tackling machine in John Lako, who averages 12 stops per game.
Yeah, and you can see there, that leads the MAC. It's third in all of college football in the FBS, and he hurt his shoulder a little bit last week against Bowling Green, but they say he's good to go, and that's good for this Akron Zip defense. Lako makes all the calls, sets the front, and then not only that, makes a lot of plays flying around the field. He's fun to watch.
Lako with 108 tackles on the season. That leads the MAC. There you see the weather. 24 degrees. That tells you it's cold enough, but really that number at the bottom to me, the most important one, the wind chill. 10 degrees, making for a somewhat uncomfortable environment, particularly for sitting in the stands here tonight. We're way up high in the booth and staying as toasty and warm as we can. Kick is underway, and so too is the ball game. Receiving it, Jeremiah Knight. And Knight going to kick it outside the 20-25, out toward the sideline, cuts back at the 35, and a great return out to the 44-yard line. A 38-yard return by the redshirt sophomore out of Jefferson, Ohio. And that'll give us our first look at the starting quarterback, Cato Nelson, a redshirt junior out of Hollywood, Florida, Flanagan High School, and a young man that's put up some impressive numbers, and he's had to do so, Ray Bentley, under less than ideal circumstances.
Yeah, and I tell you, he is the Zip offense. It all starts and goes through him. He's a dual threat guy. He can run the football. He's got a really nice little throwing arm, and he needs to get things done for Coach Tom Arth.
Both these teams love to throw early and often, and that'll be the play on first down, complete in plus territory at the 43-yard line. That's Knight on the reception for the Akron Zips.
And the thing I'm looking at, Akron has given up 40 sacks. This is one of the poorest offensive lines maybe in all the country, and they have to be able to protect Nelson tonight, and they got off to a good start. They're starting a true freshman, number 77 at left tackle. He's no small kid now. He's 6'9", about 350 right now.
He used to be 450. As that pass is complete at about the 38-yard line, that's Julian Hicks, the sophomore. The Akron Zips, it is a rebuild situation. The former coach, of course, was Terry Bowden. He had some success before leaving the program in less than ideal shape. Tom Arth knew that he was going to have a difficult job. He's a hometown product from Ohio, from John Carroll. Played there, coached there. This was his dream job. And trying to pick up their first win of the season, one of 3 winless teams at the FBS level. On 2nd down and 4. Quick hitter out to the 35, and that'll be first down yardage inside the 30. It's Julian Hicks again. His 22nd reception on the year. Brody Hoying on the stop.
Yeah, a little RPO there, and Nelson liked the matchup on the edge much better than the running matchup. Made the throw out there quick, and so far this Zip offense, they're acting like it's 75 degrees and sunny out there, throwing the ball all over the yard.
So far, maybe we got a little bit of an answer to that question at the top. How much would the weather affect things? Not much for Cato Nelson on this drive. On first down, Nelson looks to throw again. From a steady pocket, completes it, little crossing route. And down inside the 25-yard line is Hicks again. His 3rd reception, that one going for 6 yards.
That's one of Akron's favorite pass plays. On the front side, they run 2 guys deep, which basically clears that soft area underneath. Then they bring the receiver across from the other side, a little China route, we used to call it back in the day, and Julian Hicks wide open.
Oh, an impressive drive here in the opening stanza.
And they're huddling tonight, which they don't usually do. Maybe just trying to stay warm.
Taps it, fires it, and completes it inside the 20. That is Scipio, Timothy Scipio, the sophomore at Coconut Creek High School. Blake Bogan on the stop.
Boy, and they just keep throwing this football, and so far they've had wide open receivers. The ball's coming out fast, so it's helping this offensive line. And this is a really nice drive to get things going here for Tom Marsh offense.
This will be the 6th play of the drive. Cato Nelson and company cruising here in the early going. 4 wide formation, trips to the top of your screen, and they will go to the ground this time, and not much there. And that is Burton, one of the many walk-ons in this backfield. They only have 1 scholarship running back. They've had injuries, and again, there's a little bit of a dearth in recruiting the last couple of years, so they are trying to make up for that hole. That's Hayes Patrick on the carry. He's actually the only scholarship running back on the roster, if you can believe it.
Yeah, and a true freshman, and he's playing his 4th game. So if he plays after tonight, that means he's burning up the red shirt. So we'll see how he performs, whether or not they want to keep him in the mix for the last 2 games.
And Cato that time just lost his footing. That's Hunter Andrews who will get credit for the sack. A loss of 7 on the play.
And Xavier Gray, that true freshman lineman we talked about, stepped on his foot. And when you're 6'9", I'm sure you got some big old feet, and that's exactly what happened. You'll see him working back, and he just steps on his quarterback's toe, and down he goes.
You're not winning that battle.
No, your foot just got stomped on, believe me.
When 77 steps on one of your dogs, you're going down.
It's barking.
So a 3rd down now and 16. Cato Nelson out of the gun. Draw play right side. Breaking tackles, banging bodies inside the 15. And well short of the first down is Hayes Patrick, so a likely field goal attempt coming up for the Akron Zips.
They started their game last week against Bowling Green and put a couple of field goals on the board before the Falcons came back and basically did all the rest of the scoring. But they might be going for this. It's 4th and 5,
wow.
4th and 6. I'm a little surprised.
I'm a lot surprised.
But you're 0-9. You got nothing to lose. I'm not mad at them by any stretch.
That is certainly a way to look at it. So 4th and 5, and they're going to go for it. 4 wide for Nelson.
He's got a man wide open in the middle. He didn't see him.
Tucks it and runs, and the dive forward should have progress for the first down.
Oh, that's going to be close, depending on where they mark it. He had to get just inside the 9.
C.J. Hunt on the stop. We'll take another look.
You can see they're wide open in the middle, that receiver, but he decides to run for it. And I thought the mark was pretty good. Just got to bring the chains out and make sure that this is enough for that first down. It's going to be close, but I think he got it from my vantage point.
How about Tom Arth? A 4th down and 5 in field goal range. He says, why not? One of the things Coach Arth told us about this team, he said they have a really fragile psyche. They get down too early. That's what happens when you keep losing games the way they have. So he wants to get something positive going early in this game. And on the spot, they're going to be short. So initially looked like he had it.
Out on the field for media.
Coach Tom Arth not happy at all with the spot. Eastern Michigan will take over on downs as we return. Mike Morgan, Ray Bentley back with you here in Akron, Ohio. We take another look at Cato Nelson on that 4th down and 5. The Zips electing to go for it. Needed just inside the 9. That yellow line, not official, but if you went just by that, it looked pretty good, Ray.
Yeah, but the ball was just inside the 9. I think they marked it at the 9. In fact, that's where it is. So he just a fraction short, and replay didn't even bother to look at it.
Well, a tough break for Akron early on, a team that desperately could use some breaks. And we have our first look now at the Eagles of Eastern Michigan, led by their starting quarterback, Mike Glass. Mike Glass has been around for a while now in his senior campaign, a young man who's been a little bit banged up out of St. Louis, Missouri. And really, when you look at him on tape, Ray Bentley, one of the better arms in this conference.
Yeah, he's got a rocket for an arm. He can throw it farther than you can run at this point. And it really helps them. They like the perimeter passing game, the quick outs, the hitches, and whatever the defense is going to give you. The only thing, he'll overthrow it on occasion, but he's very accurate and one of the top arms in the Mid-American Conference.
Tied for second in the MAC with 16 touchdown passes on the year, as the run by Shaq Van is stonewalled initially, and then he pushes the pile 4 yards. Arslanian and Lako on the tackle.
Yeah, Arslanian had 19 tackles in their game last week. He's really come on of late. And along with John Lako, between the two of those guys, he's got some playmakers in that linebacker spots.
A 3rd down and 4. Glass will work out of the shotgun. Akron rushes 4. Glass with time and rifles one complete. Great leaping catch by Arthur Jackson. He's their difference maker and very often their deep threat.
You aren't kidding. It's not easy to catch a ball like that when it's nice out, especially when it's cold, because this is that strong arm we're talking about. This is a laser out to the edge, and what a great job of Arthur Jackson going parallel and bringing it in for a 1st down conversion.
Glass takes his time from the 26-yard line. And quickly missiles one in the flat, complete, and that'll be 1st down yardage for Dylan Drummond. This is a Eastern Michigan receiving corps that really has a lot of depth on it. They'll actually give him 9 on that, a yard shy of the 1st down. But Ray, this is a wide receiver corps that has to be one of the deepest in the league.
I have to agree, because Arthur Jackson is as good as it gets, and then Dylan Drummond, who we just saw make that catch. They got Matthew Sexton, who is number 2, who runs around really fast and is an excellent receiver. And then they've got Keon Williams, who will come in and make plays, along with Hassan Badoon. So they've got a deep stable of receivers, and that in large part is why they lead the MAC in passing, because you need someone to catch these lasers coming out of Mike Glass's hands.
They will go to the ground. This is not their strength. Trying to get to the edge, and doing so successfully is Shaq Van for 1st down yardage. He'll gobble up 9 yards. Eastern Michigan, again, a great passing game. They do not run the ball particularly well, and they lost a number of players on defense. That defense was number 1 in the MAC a year ago.
And Shaq Van, I think this is his 16th year with the Eagles. Oh, his 6th, excuse me. He's been there forever. Got a medical to play this year. And when he gets rolling, that's a good sign for this offense.
Out of South Bend, Indiana. Play number 6 on this drive. Glass cocks and fires, and that one misses the mark. Intended for Jackson. Randy Cochran on the coverage.
Yeah, and it looked like Jackson pulled up lame after that. He didn't break out of his route. He started limping and went right to the sideline, where they're looking at him right now.
but we associate so often cramps with heat. What about when you're playing in a game like this where the wind chill's 10?
The thing is you don't think about hydrating.
Right.
Your body uses the same amount, you know, of those guys are warm down there. They're sweating. And so you need to hydrate. Sometimes guys don't.
This play looks doomed from the start. Absolutely nowhere to go for Shaq Van. Stop for a loss. Great pursuit on the play. Alvin Davis, who is one of their most versatile players. He's been a starter at safety, a starter at corner, and makes plays from both spots.
And Alvin Davis is an all-MAC performer. As you look at the head coach of the Eagles in his 6th season, Chris Creighton, done an unbelievable job. But we'll get into it throughout this broadcast. When he took over Eastern Michigan, they were in a similar position as what these Akron Zips are with their new coach, Tom Arth. A lot of comparisons can be drawn in terms of where they are at and we're at.
Just 3 wins the first 2 years for Coach Creighton as they go underneath on 3rd down and long. That'll be well short of the marker. Dylan Drummond reels it in for 9 yards. Randy Cochran out another tackle for Akron. Chris Creighton, you know, he was a head coach for 17 years at the lower levels, Division III and NAIA, and both these coaches have a lot of respect for each other because both paid their dues at the D3 level before they got this opportunity.
And it was interesting. Chris Creighton said, you know, I don't work any harder here and at this level, but one thing he noticed is the commitment. When you're at that D3 level, none of those kids are getting scholarship money to come out, and he really enjoyed the commitment.
And that's our first miscue of the game. Unable to get the punt off. Jake Julian is one of the better punters in the MAC, but great pursuit that time by Akron.
And that's one of the things that special teams guys have to be aware of. You've got to get warmed up on the sidelines because your hands are going to be cold when you come out there to punt the football. He caught it fine. It was when he was flipping it to get it ready that he lost the handle on it. And that's one thing cold weather will truly affect is your specialists. If they aren't staying warm enough on that sideline and then they're called in cold, you'll get mistakes like that.
No gloves for Julian. He is irate on the sideline, just mad at himself that time. He just, I think if you read his lips there, it looked like he said, my hands are so something frozen.
Yeah.
Might want to go to the gloves the rest of the way. 3 yards on 1st down for Akron.
They've got a electric heater out there that's blowing out some heat. I know back in the day, guys used to fight for positions by that heater, and one of the guys you used to have to fight was the punter and the kicker because you got to be over there. You got to stay warm and be ready to go.
So Akron's first drive was a good one until they came up a few inches shy at 4th down, and then Eastern Michigan stalls and then unable to get the punt off. On 2nd down, again to the ground game, and this time a gaping hole on the right side, diving towards the 30-yard line. That is Hayes Patrick. Andrews on the stop for Eastern Michigan, but that'll be 1st down yardage.
Nice block by 56, Brandon Council. He's going to take the nose guard totally out of this play, and that walls it off and creates the seam. And then the nice run up the gut, keeping the shoulder square.
Akron in search of their first touchdown in a while, and almost an interception. Ill-advised throw there by Nelson.
It was batted actually as it came out of his hand. There was a defender getting up in the rush, and he got a hand on it.
I think that's Thad Abram who got his paw on it, number 59. Yep, left hand, and almost picked off.
Nice defensive play by Abram.
Akron in search of their first touchdown in 16 quarters. On 2nd and long and going the wrong way. Swallowed up for a loss is Hayes Patrick. Sean Simeon, number 95, one of the men in on the stop, a loss of 5.
And they brought Vince Calhoun, their veteran safety, on a blitz off the backside. Number 3 ran it down, and that forced the double back where the rest of the defense showed up and finished off things. Calhoun, a big senior leader for this football team. Maybe the top man in their defensive secondary.
Now 3rd down and 15. Brandon Lee in the game in the backfield. Five in the pattern. It goes out to the back. Little swing pass. It is snuffed out. Brandon Lee immediately smothered on the play.
Looked like Sean Simeon, the defensive end. He was playing screen right from the get-go, and he'll just shoot out to the edge and make this play running down a smaller man. That's good moving by a big athletic defensive end.
2 more yards in the wrong direction for Akron. And they'll have to.
They're going to go for it again. I guess this is Tom Arthur's rolling the dice tonight.
No believer in the pooch punt here from the third. Oh, he is going to pooch it. Well,
there's a pooch.
This might be one of the worst punts you'll see all season. I think it might be a negative punt. I don't know if that got back to the line of scrimmage.
See where they marked it. They did. They marked it right about at the line of scrimmage.
This might be a 0-yard punt.
Well, Cato Nelson, I don't see punter next to his resume, and I know why now.
You might go the rest of the season and then some without seeing a 0-yard punt. Still no score here in snowy Akron.
Ouch.
Mike Morgan, Ray Bentley back with you in Akron. A snowy night, a full moon. It's only fitting we'd have a full moon for something I don't think I've ever seen before. This punt goes -1 yards. -1 off the foot of Cato Nelson, who actually downs his own punt.
I've never seen a punter down his own punt before, and especially for -1 yards. But yeah, it's tough duty. I mean, he obviously is not their normal punter. They tried to, steal some good field position, getting it out of him, but didn't work out very well for Tom Arthur and company.
I'm sure they practiced that throughout the week. It probably never looked like that in practice.
No, they wouldn't have brought it out here if it had.
That's for sure. On first down, stepping out of bounds at the 45-yard line. That is Keon Williams, the sophomore from Oklahoma City, one of the many talented wideouts we highlighted earlier for Chris Creighton's club.
And his role will expand if Arthur Jackson isn't able to return, because this is his backup right here. You're looking at Keon Williams.
From the 45. On second down, perfect throw and catch to a wide open target at the 35-yard line. A chunk play that time. That's Hassan Beydoun.
Beydoun has great speed, and now that they've got that first down, they're going to try and follow it up with some tempo. But he's wide open. This is just a corner route. He had the defender from Akron totally break the other way. Might have broken a leg while he was doing it. That was an ugly little move right there, and down got open.
26 yards on the hookup. Ball inside the 30. Quick pass from Glass. Completes it at the 24. Broken tackle. The 20, the 15, and out of bounds at the 12-yard line is Keon Williams again, his second grab of the drive. Alvin Davis shoves him out of bounds, 17 more yards.
That's another aspect of that quick passing game, is the fact that you get a receiver with that big of a cushion, you can break tackles and turn those little 6-7 yarders into first downs and more, and that's exactly what Williams did.
And the fourth play of the drive on first down. Glass going to tuck it and run. He's nifty out to the 6-yard line. Not blazing speed, but hard to tackle, very slippery is Mike Glass.
Yeah, and this is they pulled the right tackle behind the line, so I don't think this was just a tuck the ball down and run because you felt like it. I think this was a designed quarterback draw down in this red area where they do like to get Mike Glass carrying the ball a little bit more often.
Second down and 4. They can get another first down at the 2-yard line. Glass feeds the tailback. Somersaulting near the goal line is Van. Touchdown! What a play by Shaq Van. 6 yards and a score midair.
I don't know if his head hit the ground before he got in the end zone, he'll be down. But it looked like he did that somersault into the end zone. The question is, did his head hit the ground with the ball not in the end zone? Take a look for yourself. He's going to go over the top of this. Looks like the head hit the ground before he got in. To me, this should be I think, a replay review situation, and I think he's going to be a yard shy of the touchdown.
Scoring. Ruling on the field on the previous play is touchdown Eastern Michigan. The play is under further review.
Scoring play, of course, paves the way for review on a play like this. And Ray, you were all over it. Saw that helmet hit the ground inside the 1, but shy of the goal line.
Not very often is the helmet the first thing that hits the ground for a ball carrier.
This first quarter has been a whole lot of right? Not very often, right? You don't see a -1 punt very often.
No, you sure don't. I think this one will come back based on the fact that the ball does not break the plane. It's behind him when the head hits the ground here.
It was Alvin Davis upending him, getting down low and flipping him over.
It's like Laco's on the bottom of that pile as well. Yeah, to me that's.
You don't go into the end zone feet first very often.
No, especially facing the other way. That's a rare occurrence. But I do believe he was down. The helmet hit the ground before that ball broke the plane, and they'll be second and goal from about the half-yard line.
It's a full moon. It's 10-degree wind chill. It's snowing. You've got an 0-9 Akron team. There's a lot of weird things we're expecting to happen tonight.
And we have not been disappointed thus far.
No.
There's clearly in that look, the ball has not crossed the plane, and the runner is down with the helmet on the ground.
It's a perfect look by our crew right there.
Can't imagine this touchdown standing, but I've seen some.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. It is a touchdown.
Where's that full moon again?
It's still above us.
Okay. To me, that's as indisputable as it can get. That should have been overturned, but it is up for dispute. I've made the case that everything's disputable, so apparently it is.
18th career rushing touchdown for Shaq Van, and a memorable one to cap off a 5-play 63-yard drive. Chad Ryland on for the extra point. Nothing automatic in the kicking game tonight, but that one is good. Eastern Michigan taking advantage of the poor punt from Akron. 7-0 our score.
Timeout on the field for me.
On Sunday afternoon, we'll have number 15 Florida taking on UConn at the Gamble Pavilion in Storrs. The last time the Gators came to Storrs was 2013, 6 years ago. And Shabazz Napier, remember him? Hit the game winner at the buzzer in a 65-64 Husky win. That'll be 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. He's Ray Bentley. I'm Mike Morgan. We are in Akron, Ohio on a frigid's not a strong enough word. Folks, it's a 10-degree wind chill, and it's been snowing for the better part of 24 hours. It cleared up a little bit today, which is why the field is in actually pretty good shape. So you get all the bitter of the cold without all the fun of the snow. It doesn't seem fair.
Just what you need. Although the snow is hanging around a little bit. It's almost starting to cover the field, not quite anywhere it would disrupt play or cover any lines or any markings. But we're hoping.
Jeremiah Knight back to receive the kickoff from the 5. Knight trying to find an alley. Running all the way to the other side of the field and stopped short at the 24. Now he's going to run right and tripped up at the 30-yard line. A very Mike Morgan, Ray Bentley back with you here at InfoCision Stadium in Akron. We apologize for some technical difficulties. Some of our cameras down for a bit, perhaps frozen. We'll see if we can hit the defrost button. Meanwhile, it's 7-0 Eastern Michigan on top. The Akron Zips have it first down and 10 from their own 30, going left to right. Cato Nelson, who's off to a good start, 6 of 7 through the air out of the shotgun. Fakes the handoff, looking right, now tosses left and into the ground, incomplete. Nothing there. Second down and 10.
And they tried to run a little submarine bootleg where they bring that tight end.
For intentional grounding. Number 25 was in the area of the pass.
They brought the tight end Nick Johns behind the line of scrimmage, and Eastern Michigan was all over it. There was nowhere to go with the ball for Nelson. He threw it at the feet of one of his receivers.
Ball on the left hash, again from the 30-yard line of Akron. Second down and 10. 3 receivers to the right, 2 to the left. Nelson working out of the shotgun. 6 men on the line for Eastern Michigan. They peel back and just rush 2. Nelson scrambling. Nelson trying to buy time. Now going to tuck it and run. Jukes at the 32 toward the near sideline. Banged out of bounds hard at the 37. Boy, did he take a lick from Freddie McGee.
Yeah, Freddie McGee just introduced himself to Cato Nelson in a big way. That was a huge hit at the end. Give Nelson credit. He was able to move it down and
get within 3-4 yards of the first down, but not quite enough, and then he paid for it.
And then they were back. The cameras have been defrosted. We're ready to go.
All right.
3rd down and 4. The full moon night here in Akron continues. The Zips trying to pick up their first win of the year. One of 3 winless teams in FBS.
That's the end of the first quarter. Timeout on the field.
Is the end of quarter number 1 with Eastern Michigan leading it 7-0. The snow continues to fall. Akron continues to hustle. Second quarter about to get underway. It's been a season to forget thus far for the Akron Zips. 0-9 record. They've lost every game by double digits. They failed to score double digits 4 times this year. They're second to dead last in total offense. They've got a 14-game losing streak dating back to last year. The last win coming against Central Michigan. Sorry about that, Ray Bedley.
All right, the Chips weren't very good last year. I understand.
That was October 27th of last year. They've now failed to score in the first quarter. 17 straight quarters now without a touchdown for Akron. That's the longest single season streak in the last 15 years. And you see where they are in terms of overall consecutive losses. Number 1, New Mexico State. Number 2, Old Dominion. And you see Arkansas, recently fired head coach Chad Morris, also on that list.
Interesting, though, talking with Tom Arth, he says that, it's a Saturday thing right now. They're doing really well all the other days of the week. He's heard a bunch of good feedback on how the culture's changing, things of that nature. It takes a while to manifest on the field.
Fair catch by Dylan Drummond after a 41-yard punt. Well, it's one thing if you're Akron, it can be done. And it was done not long ago, 2 years ago under Terry Bowden. They made it to the MAC championship game. A few years before that, they won a bowl game. They've made it to a couple of bowl games the last 5 years. A lot of the players on that roster that Terry Bowden recruited were from the state of Florida. I think now with Tom Arth, he hopes with his ties to the Buckeye State, they'll be able to get more in-state products.
Yeah, that was the primary driver behind the hiring of Tom Arth. They wanted to take advantage of the wealth of football talent in this area and didn't feel like they had been doing so, and felt getting a guy from this area who knew everybody and knew the landscape would really help.
On first down, pass complete at the 26-yard line.
Arthur Jackson back in the ball game after going out earlier. We saw him just pull up in a route and limp off the field, but he made it back out there.
A little bit of a limp in his step as he gets back to line up for this second down play. Shaq Van, the lone back, to right of the quarterback, Mike Glass. Glass missiles one complete at the 22. And stretching to the 26-yard line is Matthew Sexton, one of their top deep ball threats and also possession guys, but he's got nowhere to go. That's Randy Cochran. That's a true freshman safety on the tackle out of Doraville, Georgia.
Did a real nice job of getting off the block and then making a sure open field tackle, putting the Eagles in a 3rd and 5 situation.
Eagles 1 of 2 on 3rd down thus far. Akron rushes 4. Glass, good pocket, fires one perfectly thrown, completed at the 40 and banged down to midfield is Sexton, and he coughs it up. Akron says they have it.
And I think they do. And Sexton took a big hit and didn't take care of the football very well. He was holding it loosely, and it ended up costing him as he got whacked from the backside. Never saw it coming, and they're still scrambling for that ball down there.
That could have changed hands 4 times by now. It was a gain of 24, but it could end in a turnover.
It looked to me like Akron was on it first, but they may not have ended up with it.
They're still fighting. Right? You see they're both just glued to it. Sexton with one of the Akron defenders.
If it's mutual possession, then Eastern will keep it, and that's exactly what the referee just decided.
That's exactly 50-50.
Offense gets it.
Yep.
And Sexton got away with one because he's going to get jarred from behind. And look, he's not taking care of the ball that well. It's out there, it's loose, it's not two-handed, and he gets hit from behind. And that's Alvin Davis, who, when he hits you, it ain't no joke. And he was able to knock the football loose.
He got walloped by Davis. It's funny, Alvin Davis is actually listed 2 spots on the depth chart as the starting corner and starting safety because he does play both. And sometimes it appears like there's 5 of them on the field.
Yeah, no doubt. And a nice answer for Sexton. They go right back to him, and he's able to run after the catch and move the chains. And that shows you the confidence that Mike Glass has in his senior receiver Sexton and the coaching staff. They don't hold it against him. They throw it right back to him.
From the 39-yard line. Glass, the 5th-year senior out of St. Louis, hands it off. And probing that left side was Shaq Van, but that's jammed up at the line of scrimmage, a modest gain of 1.
He ran into a combination of a couple of guys, Josh Ward and DeMarcus Glover, and they were able to stop that cutback run that Van is so good at. And they were sitting there waiting for him. They've seen film. Shaq Van loves to, on that zone, just cut off the very back edge of the last guy, and he's gotten a lot of success doing that. And Akron was waiting for him on that one.
Passing situation here, Glass has been extremely precise tonight. 10 of 11 for 121 yards. Glass will shake and bake. Now running for his life, and he's gobbling up big time yardage at the 25, cut back at the 20, and banged down at the 18-yard line by Randy Cochran, a scamper of 21 yards.
Mike Glass is heading over towards the sideline, but he gets loose. He makes a big man miss, and then he's got great vision of seeing where things are, using and setting up blocks to move the ball down the field.
You see this more and more now, even at the pro level, with guys like Russell Wilson.
It's the hardest thing for a defense to stop is that quarterback scramble.
And especially the shorter guys, right? Low center of gravity, good wiggle.
Well, that size works both ways. They can't see down the field, but you can't see them back there either.
First down and 10 from the 19-yard line. A run off to the left. Nice job of breaking out of a tackle at the 10 to the 5, and lunging forward for a touchdown is Shaq Van. What a run by the senior out of South Bend, Indiana. A pickup of 19 for the score.
And that is vintage Shaq Van. That's just his 6 years of knowledge, of accumulated visions and understanding how this game works. Watch him kick it to the outside, and then he's always one step ahead. He's looking down the field. He knows he's going to have to make a move back inside, feels it, and then gathers his power and forces his way into the end zone. Really nice run.
Ryland Don for the extra point. And it is through. So Eastern Michigan with an impressive drive. 7 plays, 79 yards, 3:34 off the clock. Well, they should be handing out free hot chocolate by the gallons tonight to the Akron Zip faithful. An 0-9 team still coming out supporting their squad. So too are some fans of Eastern Michigan. Took a 3-hour bus ride to get here to see Akron, Ohio. Akron 0-9 looking for their first win. Eastern Michigan trying to make their 3rd bowl game in 4 years. They need 2 more victories. Would all start tonight. Hey, you know what? I think that could be said for a lot of folks.
Yeah, checks in the mail. Don't worry. Got you covered.
When you're 0-9, sometimes your needs become more plentiful. It's cold out there, folks. I don't know if TV does it justice because the snow has died down a little bit, but there's a 10-degree wind chill. And Akron trying to heat up. And a lengthy return, more horizontal than vertical that time for Jeremiah Knight. As the Zips will set up shop at the 24 make that the 19-yard line. Well, Ray Bentley got a situation coming down tonight, as it does each and every Tuesday the rest of the way, the college football playoff selection show. And here's the updated standings coming down in a few, but you've got your own prediction of what it's going to be right now.
Yeah, and I think everyone's going to be pretty much the same 1 through 4. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. And then you start talking 5, 6. I know some people have Oregon in there. I was greatly impressed by PJ Fleck's Golden Gophers and the way they handled business against Penn State this past weekend. I got them up in that 6th spot.
PJ Fleck, of course, familiar to MAC fans. What a job PJ Fleck did at Western Michigan, winning this conference back in 2016 before taking the Minnesota job. Minnesota is really one of the great stories. In a time in college football where we need a little bit of diversity. I mean, Clemson, Alabama, I get it. They're good. Ohio State, usual suspects. But LSU now with Coach O, he's enjoying those ham sandwiches and watching Sports Center
Yeah,
and winning big games. Minnesota is a terrific story. Baylor under Matt Rule is a great story. You need that in college football.
And we have a lot of it this year, as that one goes incomplete. Nice hit in the secondary there by Russell Baden making a play. But, you know, I agree with you 100%. Everyone's kind of, all right, we've seen these same guys, we've seen these same customers as you get another look at that play. And it's time for some fresh names and new blood, and that's what we've got this year, and it's exciting.
That's what we've got right now. And I mean, it's still going to be some of the usual suspects in that playoff. I think those top 3, no matter what order the committee decides to put it in tonight, and we'll give you those rankings as soon as they come across.
I hope Minnesota makes it undefeated into the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State, so it's almost a play-in game.
Right. Akron misfiring on 3rd down. The Zips now 0 for 4 on 3rd down, and that will bring, I can safely say they will punt it this time. No more going for it on 4th down. I don't think we'll see a pooch punt by the quarterback here.
No, Cato Nelson was one of the first ones off the field when they said punt team this time.
That -1 punt is probably going to really put a dent in his future punting career.
No, I'm a former punter from high school, and I remember one I kicked it. Had I not moved, it would have landed on top of me. So I can feel for Mr. Nelson in that regard.
Thankfully, quarterbacking is still in his future. Wheeling, a wobbler, and fair caught at the 42. So good field position upcoming for Eastern Michigan. The Eagles leading at 14-0. 9:44 to go. Second
Timeout on
quarter.
the field for me.
ESPN Plus is your home for thousands of live events and exclusive originals. Sign up today at ESPNplus.com.
Well, on Saturday at 8 Eastern on ESPN Plus, our UFC Fight Night main card is highlighted by Jacare Souza. Moving up to 205 to battle top 5 light heavyweight Jan Jablanovic in the 5-round main event from Brazil. To order the main card in English and Spanish, go to ESPNplus.com. It has been all Eastern Michigan thus far in this game. Akron had a chance to score on their opening drive in field goal range, elected to go for it on 4th and 5, came up about 3 inches shy of a 1st down, and everything since then has gone the way of the Eagles. Mike Glass, the senior quarterback, composed per usual, with Shaq Van to his right, and it'll be Van on the carry, and that one is jammed up right at the line of scrimmage. Good pursuit that time by Arslanian.
See the drive chart for the Eagles. Last 2 drives turn into points for them. Nice little mix of running and throwing the football, but thus far Mike Glass has had his way. 10 of 11 for 121 yards on the night.
Van's 8th carry of the night, leading the way with 37 yards on the ground. Glass looking to throw, this time on 2nd down, and completes it right on target at the 47-yard line. That's Keon Williams for a gain of 8.
And Glass got that one out of his hands extremely fast. Alvin Davis blitzed off the far edge for the Zips, and no doubt Glass saw it coming, had his hot receiver hits Williams for a little hitch, bringing up a 3rd down and 1 now.
And Eastern Michigan 2 of 3 thus far on 3rd down. Glass surges forward, and that'll be good enough for a 1st down. You know, we talked earlier, Ray, about this Akron team, and when you start losing, it just becomes a little bit of a habit. Tom Arth, the head coach of the Akron Zips, saying, you know, his team's got a little bit of a fragile psyche, and that they just get down too easily. They start hanging their heads, start wondering, here we go again, and that's sometimes only natural.
Yeah, it becomes a cycle you have to break at some point, right? And because you don't want it to become a self-fulfilling prophecy where that's your expectation now, and that's the battle that they're fighting. A lot of it is that 6-inch space between the ears.
5 wide on 1st down for Glass. All kinds of time, and completes it at the 30. Not much of a pass rush here by Akron of late. It's a gain of 20.
Bryson Cannon, the tight end, but there was a flag down in the backfield. But yeah, this is a zone you're going to see, just finding the dead spot, and that's exactly what Cannon does. And then speaking of cannons, that's what Mike Glass has to throw with. He's been just throwing lasers all over the field here in this cold weather, heating it up.
A penalty flag, as you said, all the way back at midfield.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense number 62. The 15-yard penalty be added to the end of the run. 1st down.
I think he meant defense, right? Or is he?
Well, they're moving 60, it forward.
62 is City South.
Correction, it is 2nd down.
Well, they moved the ball the wrong way if it's on the offense.
Yeah, I think they're going to fix that.
Well, you get brain freeze when it's 7-degree wind chill. You get a little brain cramp.
Absolutely. You're going to lose track of which side, what's going on here. But if it's called on the man they called it on, 62, City South, that's an offensive lineman for Eastern.
Right here. After application of the dead ball foul, it is 1st down.
Okay. So the play stands in terms of the reception, then you mark off 15 after the yardage on the completion.
Mm-hmm. And then it'll be 1st and whatever's left, and that looks to be about 6 or 7 yards. Let's call it 6. Or are they going to reset the chains? Now they're resetting the chains. They lost me. Well, they lost me long before that.
I'm right there with you. That one will have to be sorted out sometime in the future. But officially, we're looking at a 1st down. We know that much. And Grissom is in a quarterback. They play 3 quarterbacks. This is one of their Wildcat guys, and he's electric.
Jairus Grissom hands this one off, but that's a rare occasion for him. When he's in the ball game, he likes to keep it himself, and rightly so, because he is lightning in a bottle. He's extremely talented, and they are really looking towards the future with this freshman quarterback.
And of course, Glass is the senior. Grissom, who doubles up as a wideout, but he's a natural quarterback, played the position in high school, and very well could be the guy next year. Now a sophomore out of Detroit, Michigan.
He's been doing this package now for the last 2 years for them, where they bring him in, and it's highly featured quarterback run stuff, but he can run the entire offense. He'll throw it on occasion.
5 on the line for Akron. Grissom's going to keep it. Told you he's electric. Grissom hard to bring down. Couple stiff arms. Turns that corner and turns on the Jets inside the 25. Out of bounds at the 23-yard line. A gain of 13 yards.
Yeah, and he's almost too fast for his own good sometimes, because I feel like he would have been much better off keeping running straight up the field. But he knows he's got the speed to get the edge regardless of the leverage of a defender, and he almost got it entirely.
Grissom going to get a breather. A well-earned breather. Got the blood flowing on those 2 plays. Mike Glass back out at quarterback.
Yeah, and that totally changes everything for a defense when they put a new quarterback in there, a guy who has some specific skills. You got to change your mindset. Now they roll back with the other guy. You got to change again.
Glass, he'll keep it. Not much daylight. Squeezes out a couple. Jalen Hooks on the tackle.
Looked more like a Grissom play than a Glass play.
Yeah,
My glass is half full when I got Mike throwing the ball. That's what he does extremely well. They got another good quarterback in Preston Hutchinson, another sophomore who, when Glass missed a couple games, he stepped in and made plays for him. Led him to a late victory over Western Michigan 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, they're one of the few teams in the country that will play 3 quarterbacks in a given game. And a timeout called with the play clock ticking down under 5 seconds. We'll take it with them as we step aside. 5:36 to go, first half. Eastern Michigan up 14-0. We told you just how good Mike Glass is throwing the football, and tonight he is not disappointed.
Nah, he's outstanding so far tonight, 12 of 13. But watch this ball just go through the snow in the wind without any movement. I mean, he's throwing darts, spirals out there. If Santa had a quarterback, it might be Mike Glass, because he can handle the weather.
Mike Glass making the all-reindeer team tonight.
Yeah.
Wind chill under 10 degrees, breezy. As you pointed out, this is not an ideal night for a quarterback throwing the football. You see Mike Glass electing not to go with the gloves, just keeping those hands and fingers warm as he can.
Impervious to the conditions.
Turner in the backfield on second down. Nowadays you see quarterbacks wearing gloves in domes.
Yeah. I don't know how they do it.
Pass complete on the flat at the 16-yard line. That is Latou on the grab. The senior Jalen Hooks racks up another tackle after a gain of 4.
Another example of how this offense operates. Aaron Keene, the offensive coordinator, told us we try to start by taking the easy stuff, the easy throws for the quarterback, the 4, 5, 6 chunks of yards that the defense is willing to surrender on those outside passes. They'll take them all day.
This is the 9th play of the drive. It's a 3rd and 3. Blitz coming. Glass with time. Completes it over the middle. Right at the 6-yard line. That is the tight end Bryson Cannon out of Dutch Fork High School in Columbia, South Carolina.
That's twice tonight they found Cannon on that inside route right in the hole of the zone defense. And unless Akron changes something, and they're actually in man this time, and I see what happened on the replay. Alvin Davis, the safety who could come up and maybe break that up, slipped on the ground, and there's a light film of snow on this turf, and it's become a little bit slippery. We've seen guys start to slip here in the last few minutes.
15th reception of the year for Cannon, the top tight end on this Eagles offense. To the ground and spinning his way into the end zone for a touchdown. Another one for Shaq Van. This one will hold up. 5 yards and a score for the senior.
What a great goal line run by Shaq Van. And the reason I say that is at the initial start of the run, watch him shuffle sideways. He just goes straight sideways, and that keeps his shoulders square to the line of scrimmage, which enables all of his power. So he can put them shoulders down and blast his way into the end zone, which is exactly what he did.
A 10-play, 57-yard drive, 5:27 off the clock. And the extra point is true. So a 21-0 lead here in the second quarter for Eastern Michigan.
It's been a while since Eastern has come down here and gotten a victory. The last win here in Akron came in 1995. So they're trying to break that long streak.
Keep in mind, this is an Eastern Michigan team that earlier in the year defeated Illinois of the Big Ten Conference. Illinois playing some great football right now under Lovie Smith. Kick off your Week 11 NFL Sunday with ESPN and the ESPN app at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Our Sunday NFL Countdown crew will have all the early breaking stories, injury updates, and preview each game right up to kickoff. Alongside Ray Bentley, Mike Morgan with you here in frigid Akron, Ohio. A wind chill under 10. And Eastern Michigan is a football team that continues to heat up. Again, a win tonight would pull the Eagles to within 1 game of bowl eligibility. That would perhaps give them their 3rd bowl bid in 4 years.
Yeah, and Chris Creighton talked to his team about it, and he said all I had to say was do the math, and they all understood. And he also mentioned that they want to get to 7 wins. 6 doesn't guarantee it, although it qualifies you for it. If they get to 7, they're going.
Lost a lot of players off that team a year ago, particularly on the defensive side. And it seems like they have found their way in the latter part of the season. Okay, you're Akron. Not much has gone right tonight, Ray Bentley. How do you turn this game around and not start to get into a downward spiral?
If I knew that, I could sell that to Tom Arth in a hurry, couldn't I? To me, you have to keep doing what you do best, and that's get the quarterback rolling. You got to find ways that Cato Nelson can either get himself into some space or have some time to throw. Now, they actually had some decent offense thus far tonight, but it's the last several drives have not been good for them, and they have to get back to what they were doing early.
A run to the edge on first down. It's Hayes Patrick, and he will pick up 9 yards. Good looking freshman out of Orlando, Florida. I mentioned he's the only scholarship running back. I mean, there are rebuilds and then there are rebuilds. There was a lot of room in the cabinet for some new players, and when you get a job like this kind of late in the process, most of the recruits are already signed or committed elsewhere. So this upcoming recruiting period will be huge for Akron and head coach Tom Arth.
Yeah, Tom Arth did an interesting thing. He got the job 2 days before the early signing period and decided not to sign anybody.
Right.
He said, I didn't know the recruits coming in. They didn't know me. I wouldn't want my son to sign with a coach they've never met. And so he put everything on hold and then brought everyone in February. And I respect what he did in that regard. I like what he did in that regard. If I'm a parent, that resonates with me.
Pass complete and racing all the way to the 35-yard line. That's Jeremiah Knight, biggest pass play of the night for the Zips, a gain of 25.
Yeah, Blake Bogan, the free safety, was about 5 yards off of Knight when he caught the ball. That's too far, and it gave Knight the room to maneuver into Eagle territory. Eastern wants a timeout.
Charge timeout, Eastern Michigan. They're second and
some
half.
life on offense here on this drive. 21-0, the Zips trail. Now the Chick-fil-A college football playoff rankings are hot off the presses, and not surprisingly the first 3. LSU now the new number 1. Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia is now number 4, leaving Alabama as one of the first 2 out, followed up by Oregon. I got to admit, I'm surprised by that one, Ray. Alabama just lost a game against the number 1 team in the country. Georgia lost at home to South Carolina, who just lost to Appalachian State.
Yeah, I don't agree with it, but they didn't ask me to go in that room with everyone else and hash it out yet.
Well, clearly they should have, and I'm going to go ahead and make
you.
a few phone calls.
Do that, will you? Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that. Georgia jumping up like that, and look at Alabama now with their knocked out of potentially the SEC championship game. Where is their path? They've got to count on other people to lose in order to leapfrog at this point, I believe.
Yeah, that is a surprise to me. Now Georgia will still have some tests. They still have to play Auburn, of course, and then potentially the SEC championship game, which would likely be a matchup with LSU. So they're going to have to earn it one way or another. I can't see a scenario where a 2-loss team gets into a playoff, as Zips trying to get something going on the ground here and trying to get a score before the half. It's Hayes Patrick on the run.
That's one of the biggest piles I've seen in a while. There was a good 10, 11 bodies on that heap. Guys trying to stay warm any way possible out there.
Now another 3rd down and intermediate here. 3rd and 6. Akron has had trouble on 3rd down tonight. 0 for 4 are the Zips.
And this is definitely 4th down territory, unless you want to pooch punt again, which I doubt.
We'll draw play. And that is not going to get it done. Out to the 27, maybe 28. So you'd be looking at about a 45-yard field goal.
I can't imagine that. No. They're going for this one. They're trying to do it with a little tempo.
Another 4th down attempt. Carry up the middle, no chance. Mike Haney, number 93, the first one leading the charge. And for the second time tonight, Eastern Michigan's defense salty on fourth down.
Yeah, they basically called 2 plays in the huddle the previous time, tried to run out and go with tempo. But you're right, Haney wasn't having any of it. Made a nice move to get outside this guy in the close, laterally down the line to wrap up the running back, and then reinforcements arrived. And this is a stone cold fourth down stop right there. Give Haney a lot of credit.
I was going to say when it rains it pours. I guess the more apropos saying would be when it snows it pours for Akron. It just seems like every time something positive happens, it's capped off with a big negative.
Yeah, they had a nice drive. They got down into opponent's territory, penetrated the 30-yard line, but couldn't convert on the fourth down.
And a good run on first down for Shaq Van as the clock ticking away, under a minute to go now in the first half.
Shaq Van's having a nice little night on the ground. Averaging a shade under 5 yards a carry, 10 totes, and he's popped in a couple of touchdowns. Couple 3 actually.
Glass rolling out, and will wisely just throw this one away.
Good decision for Van to throw that thing. Now usually he'll have a receiver, and this time it was Dylan Drummond sitting on that backside as a check down for him, but Akron had it totally covered up. There was nowhere to go with the football.
Third down and 3. Between the tackles, straight up the gut, and that'll be a first down. Alvin Davis on the tackle. Shaq Van continues to gobble up yardage. 5 more. He's got 12 carries, 59 yards, and 3 scores.
Yeah, just a little power read on the inside. They pulled the big guard, City Sal, to lead the way, and creased him just enough to move the chains.
And they will let the clock tick away and be happy with a 21-0 lead, and why not?
Yeah, there's hot chocolate in the locker room, boys. Get in there.
Timeout on the field.
That is a first half dominated by Eastern Michigan, trying to pick up win number 5 on the season to get that much closer to bowl eligibility.
Fairly well played first half, and obviously the Eagles outplaying the Zips, but Akron had a few chances, as we talked about, getting the ball moved down into the opponent's territory, but bogged down outside the 20-yard line in all 3 occasions that they penetrated Eastern Michigan territory.
Our halftime score. That does it for first half action in Akron. Stay tuned. Matt Berry in the studio after these messages. It was a first dominated by Eastern Michigan, 21-0 our halftime score as we get ready for half number 2, and Eastern Michigan hoping to get that much closer to bowl eligibility. Mike Morgan alongside Ray Bentley here in Akron, Ohio. Ray, we talked about Mike Glass at the top. I think we already knew he was good statistically, but when you see this young man in person, the throws he's making in these kind of conditions, even more impressive.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. It's just throwing, I think, what is he, just 2 incompletions. One of them was a throwaway thus far. He's throwing darts all over the field, and it's really impressive to me, too, the way his receivers are catching these balls, because it's cold out there. He's throwing strikes, but they're reeling them in, and then he's taken off and made a couple of plays with his feet, kept the thing going, and then when push comes to shove, it becomes Shaq Van time, and he pushes and shoves his way into the end zone 3 times here in the first half. It's been really a clinic for goal line running by Shaq Van, keeping the shoulder square, staying lateral, and then hitting the gas pedal when it becomes time.
And the game summary, Mike Glass, extremely efficient, not just the 160 yards, also running on the ground, and again, just 2 incompletions overall. Shaq Van already 3 rushing touchdowns. You see the difference in yardage, and it was a nearly flawless half for Eastern Michigan. Just 1 penalty and 0 turnovers. They just don't do anything to beat themselves, and if you're Akron, Ray Bentley, you've got to find some type of lightning in a bottle here.
Yeah, and that's going to be a difficult thing because they haven't found that yet this year. It's been a real growing process for this offense, and they're going to have to grow leaps and bounds to make this a ball game here in the second half. And to go back to your statement about the clean way these Eagles play, that's the Chris Creighton way. I mean, that's by design. They are number 7 in the country in fewest penalties called and 10th in yardage, and that's how they win. Don't have Eastern Michigan beat Eastern Michigan, and that's the number one thing I think Akron has to do is get out of their own way.
And a fair catch called for, so Eastern Michigan will set up shop
The ball
at the
was fair
25-yard line.
inside the 25-yard line. By rule, we placed at the 25, 1st and 10.
And another look at Mike Glass, who was nearly flawless in the first half. The senior having an all-conference type season for this Eagles squad. And again, a good complement of wide receivers. Shaq Van running the ball as well as he has all year. You could see why if Eastern Michigan can just shore some things up defensively in the coming weeks, they could be poised for another bowl game.
Yeah, and you look at the remaining schedule. They have they're at Northern Illinois and then finish with Kent State at home. Those are winnable games for this Eastern Michigan football team.
Diving forward to the 26-yard line, a gain of a yard for Van. John Lako, who's been rather quiet so far in this game, the nation's 3rd leading tackler at 12 per game.
Been in a few, but you're right. It's not the performance we've come to expect from Lako. Is usually dominant, but they credited him with 5 tackles in the first half, including a half of a tackle for loss.
Their defensive coordinator Matt Feeney says John Lako is the smartest player I've ever coached. Very high praise.
And this defense for Akron is ahead of where the offense is in terms of development. And that kind of plays into how Tom Arth says he wants to win football games around here when they get it rolling. That's with defense and a running game.
Glass banged down by Alvin Davis, a gain of 4. I would imagine if Eastern Michigan does anything differently in the second half, as good as Mike Glass has been, they might go a little more conservative. I mean, Akron has been able to generate very little on offense.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a whole lot. I mean, what they had, the mix they had going in the first half between the run and the pass and the accuracy from Glass, that's vintage Eagle football. That's how they want to do it.
And again, Glass perfect. Completes that one to Dylan Drummond for a gain of 7.
That's another one of those free yards deal where the coverage was off, so just hitch up in front of it, pitch and catch, move the chains. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than that. Jordan Riley on the coverage of that one, and when you see guys giving big cushions on the edge, that's Eastern's going to take advantage of that.
Going to run it wide and out to about the 45-yard line.
Really nice,
Shaq Van.
Really nice block on the edge by Gunnar Oaks, a big sophomore tight end. And that's a huge part of this running game. They'll put their tight ends in the slot and then run to the edge, knowing that they have a big man on a little man mismatch blocking at the point of attack.
Quick throw, a little bubble screen out to Williams. And Williams will have the first down. They're just clicking on all cylinders right now. Chris Creighton, the head coach, got to be liking what he sees out of Mike Glass and this offense.
You got a player down for Eastern. It's
time out on the field for an offensive injury.
Hassan Badoon, who's helped up and getting looked at a little bit, holding on to the old hamstring. Looks like he's going to be all right.
As cold as it is tonight, and as less than ideal as the conditions are, it hasn't been as sloppy a game as it could have been.
No, I agree 100%. They're playing well, and I got to go back to the point of Eastern Michigan's receivers. They're catching some balls with some steam on them.
Oh yeah,
and they seem like it's room temperature out there for those guys. No big deal. See him holding up signs on the sideline and doing signals. The whole offense getting the play. A little check with me scenario.
Just got that off. The play clock was under 1, and it's going to be a big gain for Shaq Van. I mean, that was precious tenths of a second left on the play clock before they got that one off.
Michael Scott with a tackle, and they're going into some tempo right now. But when Shaq Van keeps the shoulders square, he's really good at running what I call caboose. So he runs at the back end of that zone blocking scheme up front, and the defenders all try to get in the front edge of that, and he goes off the backside and makes a play.
Big hole left side for Van, churning those legs and out of bounds at the 22-yard line. Arslanian on the stop for the Akron Zips, but not before a gain of 17.
Watch the center, number 60, Mike Van Hoven. He just walls his man off, and that's an all-conference linebacker in John Lako that he just kept entirely out of that play.
Van flirting with the century mark, now at 95 yards, averaging just under 6 yards per clip. Quick throw in the flat at the 20. A little shake and bake by Drummond, who's knocked out of bounds near the marker at the 13-yard line.
Well, when you have a quarterback who is as accurate as what Mike Glass has been tonight, it's fun to play offense. They just picked up 7 yards around the edge on a simple play and catch with a guy. And that's what this offense can give you. And then the mental decisions. A lot of these passes to the edge you're seeing, they're called runs with a tag screen on the end. So the quarterback, Mike Glass, is going to look at the defense and decide what he likes. A lot of times pre-snap, and then he'll just hum it out to the edge where they've got numbers, or he'll hand it off inside if they've got the numbers. It's a very effective offense when your quarterback can call the shots like Mike Glass is doing.
They mark him out of bounds at the 15, so second and short. Rifles one, and that was almost picked off.
Arslanian almost got it.
Arslanian had his hands on it. That's really the best chance, other than a fumble by Matthew Sexton, who recovered his own fumble earlier. The best chance at an Akron takeaway.
And Arslanian sees this thing early and doesn't play the run. He drops back on the RPO look and was right in the vision of Mike Glass, although unseen, and he dropped one right in his hands.
So the 10th play of the drive. Willie Parker in a tailback. One of the few times Mike Glass will operate under center. On play action. Nobody open. Glass buying time. Gets a block, and Glass will run for the first down. Just a nifty, patient play by a veteran quarterback in Mike Glass.
And he missed a chance at a touchdown because he had a receiver wide open in the corner of the end zone, but he never saw it. And so he's going to pull it down. Pressure's on him. Now he's still keeping his eyes downfield. Things got covered up. Awareness and knowing where those sticks are, and all he needs is that first down. That's what he got.
Mike Glass unflappable in this game. Again, going bare hands. Much respect going bare hands on a night like tonight. Big hole up the middle. Second effort. Banging his way into the end zone for a touchdown. That is Willie Parker, the junior out of Tampa, Florida.
Parker shows a little power there at the end of that one. They list him at 5'9", 187, and he ran that one a little bit bigger than what his numbers project, because he makes a big hit. He got a good block up front, and then boom, he just lowers his shoulder, and that's Alvin Davis he ran over, and that's no joke right there when you run that guy over.
Not many people have this year. So after 3 touchdowns by the starting running back, Shaq Van, Willie Parker gets in on the fun as Ryland knocks home the extra point. 28-0. 9:51 to go, third quarter. Eastern Michigan dominating.
Timeout on the field for media.
Hey, that's dedication. If you're cracking the books in 7-degree wind chill at a football game when your team is down 28-0 and you're 0-9, much respect for that young student.
Looked like they had a worker vest on. I think he's on the clock, so hold the praise a little bit.
See, now why do you have to call him out like that?
I don't know.
I'm about to give him a scholarship, and you're basically going to get him fired.
Yeah, what I say earlier, that no one loves the truth anymore.
Ray Bentley bringing some cold, hard truth tonight.
It's a night for it.
It is the night for that. A full moon, snow on the ground, 7-degree wind chill, and an Akron Zips team that just cannot catch a break here.
Well, they've been partially their own worst enemy as you look at some of the issues in the first half. Here they are on a 4th down and came up that short on it, and then the pooch punt did not go very well for Cato Nelson. -1 yards. When you down your own punt, you know something's wrong. And then a blown opportunity. Had the ball on the ground here and weren't able to come up with it, and Eastern finishes that drive with another touchdown. So been a tough night for the Zips.
And really, this young man, a quarterback, Cato Nelson, he hasn't played poorly, but again, nothing on the ground. They have no running game to speak of. Kobe Beltram is an outstanding linebacker for this Eastern Michigan squad. A loss of 3 on the play. Beltram and Myrick are 2 enforcers at that spot.
And one of the issues with that running game for the Zips is they don't block the linebackers. Last week they put a Bowling Green kid in the Hall of Fame in one afternoon. And I asked the coach about it. He says it's tied to their RPO game where they prefer to get on linemen and try to keep their hands down in case they throw the ball. I've never heard such a thing. And I would love to play linebacker against these guys. Nobody blocked you? Are you kidding? Let's do it.
Nelson scrambling. Nice job of improvising, and finds the tight end Nick Johns, his first grab of the night, a gain of 6.
And they're down several tight ends. Junk is out of this one. Wolfley is out of this one. That puts Johns in the spotlight as far as the primary tight end for this game tonight anyway is Vince Calhoun, who made the play, a big leader of the Eagle defense on your screen.
3rd down and 7 here for Nelson. 3rd down has been a major issue. 0 for 5. Nelson, nicely formed pocket. He's going to scramble out of it, though. 2 penalty flags thrown right in the area of holding.
And that is the call. That's what's going to happen, is one of the Eagle defensive linemen got tackled.
Holding. Offense number 56. 10-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Got Brandon Council making his 22nd start for the Zips tonight up front. And, one thing they haven't improved, because I watched in the last 3 games, they had issues putting the snap on the ground in each of those games. And between Brandon Council and Bryce Peterson, the 2 men who played center for him, that was a real issue. And we asked them about it, and they said they had a really good week of practice on it, not putting it on the ground. And so far, so good here tonight. The snaps have been clean.
Yeah, the snaps have been clean. That's their first penalty of the night. And there's a lot of things that Akron has done well in terms of avoiding self-inflicted wounds. They just haven't shown enough firepower.
And that's the first thing you have to do, is learn not to beat yourself and stop repeating mistakes, which is something Coach Arth said has been a problem around here.
Nelson continuing to run for his life and does a great job of making a play really on the fly. Another flag on the play, though.
In the backfield, and you can see the frustration from Cato Nelson. Finally had a good play. And
offense number 56. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. 3rd down.
They got that number, don't they?
Yeah.
That's twice in a series of 3 plays they flagged Council for the holding. He's not buying it. But it really don't matter what he thinks at this point.
He wants his own replay review on that play.
And it's too bad, because that showed you the promise of this offense, with the ability of Cato Nelson to move around. The redshirt junior will be back next year, and he can make plays. There's no doubt about it. In fact, when talking to the Eastern Michigan staff and Neil Nethery, the defensive coordinator, that was the one guy they were all very concerned about, the guy who can take over a game in Cato Nelson.
He's had to make plays running for his life all season. There is the first low snap. Scoops it up. Still has time. Now we'll go down to the 15. Well, right on cue, partner, because we had seen 2.5 quarters where it wasn't an issue, and it finally reared its ugly head.
Yeah, and I feel bad, like I almost jinxed him or something,
You should,
right?
actually.
Well, I don't feel that bad. and, you know, this is Bryce Peterson, who started 5 games at center. This will be his 6th here tonight, and the ball's been put on the ground. It's become a problem, and it still is.
One more of those, and we're going to get a demonstration from Ray Bentley.
Well, snapping ain't that hard. I taught you how to do it in the pregame.
That's
so
right. It took me 2 attempts, but I got the second one there.
I didn't coach you up on the first one. I let you just do your own thing.
That's a dangerous thought for anybody. Eastern Michigan on top big here at Akron.
Yeah, home of the New Year's Six and the college football playoff.
Well, and with that, of course, the anticipation of what these rankings are going to look like each and every Tuesday night. And here is the updated rankings from tonight. LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson, the 3 no-brainers. Everybody wondering who that number 4 would be. Georgia over Alabama, then Oregon, Utah, Minnesota, Penn State, and Oklahoma. Ohio State at Rutgers, by the way, on Saturday. They are a 53-point favorite if you're scoring at home.
Yeah, I'm going to put Georgia on upset alert.
I am too. I think that's a problem spot for Georgia, and I have a weird feeling Alabama is going to wind up back in there by season's end. Of course, they'll have Auburn and the Iron Bowl at the end of the year. Receiver open downfield, caught inside the 10. That is Matthew Sexton. You and I have been waiting, Ray, for the deep ball to go over the top. That's one of their top guys to do it.
Yeah, and Sexton runs a 4.45. He just blasted by the corner, Randy Cochran that time, and nice ball thrown deep. I'm surprised that watching them on film, as soon as they cross midfield, they like to hurl it down to the end zone and see what they can make happen. That's the first time they tried to take the top off this zip defense here tonight.
Longest play of the game, 41 yards. And another perfect strike by Mike Glass. On 1st and goal. Back to the ground game and back to Shaq Van. Looking for his 4th touchdown of the night. He'll pick up 4.
Mike Van Hoven, the center, is still knocking people off the ball. He had his guy about 4 yards down the field, and Shaq Van actually ran into Van Hoven, or he might have been to the end zone.
Head coach Chris Creighton telling us he looks every game for the same thing. Low in the penalty department. Again, they only have 1. Win special teams, they've done that. Turnover margin, they've done that.
That's the recipe.
It's a pretty good recipe that's been working for him. This one is stonewalled. Shaq Van with nowhere to go. And again, you talked about it early on. When Chris Creighton took over, this Eastern Michigan program looked a lot like Akron does now. In the first couple of years, just 3 wins. You had to be patient. They were patient with Chris Creighton, who paid his dues, 17 years coaching the lower levels, Division III, NAIA, and you see what they've done lately, including 2 bowl appearances, and perhaps on the way to another one this year. This would pull them within 1 win of bowl eligibility.
Eastern Michigan was a perennial MAC doormat before Chris Creighton got in there, and it took him 3 years, but he got him rolling there. Breakout year in 2016, finished with a 7-6 record, coming off of a 1-11 season, and it just kind of all of a sudden boom, and now all their games are close games. As you see, if Van got himself in the end zone, I think it's a pretty good mark as far as whether or not he got in there. And now on 4th, they're going to go for it again.
Van stays in, looking for his 4th touchdown. Glass right under center. And Glass will keep it behind the left guard. Keeps those legs churning, and he's in for a touchdown. Mike Glass with his 6th rushing touchdown of the year.
And it took a little churning because that initial thrust was stonewalled. He wasn't going anywhere. And then you get the push from behind, and people's legs moving and Glass pushing, and no doubt he got himself into the end zone here. But that initial charge was thwarted, but no question he's in the end zone.
It is a 5-play, 48-yard drive, 2:06 off the clock. And the 5th touchdown of the night for the Eagles gives Eastern Michigan a 35-0 lead. All Eastern Michigan.
Ground, huh? 5 house tricks.
Getting up to speed on the races going on in each division around the MAC. Western Michigan, by the way, leading Ohio 10-0 at the half. That's currently on ESPN2. Northern Illinois at Toledo. That'll be tomorrow night on ESPN2. And then Bowling Green at Miami of Ohio. That'll be on ESPNU. You've got Western Michigan and Central Michigan leading the Western Division, and Miami leading the Eastern Division. The defending champion is Northern Illinois.
And there were no real clear-cut favorites for the MAC in either division this year, really. I mean, a lot of people thought Ohio was looking good in the East, but it was really a grab bag going in, and it's a grab bag coming out. It's going to be a race down to the wire.
Kick scooped up at the 15-yard line. And down to the 27-yard line is where it'll be spotted as we look at the standings. There are 3 current teams in the MAC that are bowl eligible as we speak. Central Michigan, Western Michigan, and Toledo, and obviously some opportunities for some more. You see Miami of Ohio and Buffalo each sitting on 5 wins. We've talked about Eastern Michigan's path to getting there. How do you see this all shaping out?
Well, I wish I could tell you. Western's got the driver's seat in the West. They control their own destiny. If they win out, they'll be the West champs. Same for Miami on the other side. So it's looking like a showdown between those 2 teams for the MAC championship. But there are a number of teams that won't be in that game but have a chance for postseason.
For years and years we would talk about the great stories, the players to come out of the MAC conference, but all you have to do is look over the last few years at some of the coaches. 2015 Bowling Green wins it. Dino Babers, now the Syracuse coach, and of course, as we alluded to earlier, 2016 Western Michigan wins it under P.J. Fleck, and P.J. Fleck is now They inked him. Minnesota did not waste any time.
They saw that Florida State job come open and said, we're going to keep this guy for a while.
He is one of the most highly coveted names in the coaching ranks in all of college football. So probably looking at one of the next great MAC coaches somewhere in this conference again.
Rod Carey left Northern Illinois after some championships and is doing a great job over at Temple. That's so right. It's a bit of a coach's cradle in this MAC is.
Yes, it is.
It's where the Power 5 comes to get their next big coach a lot of times.
Akron speeding things up. That ball in and out of the hands. Tough play attempted by Jeremiah Knight, broken up by Corey Hernandez.
Good timing on Hernandez, making that hit as the ball got in there, shaking it loose. But you can still see flashes from Cato Nelson of what this offense can be down the road, because they have the hardest piece to get, and that's a good trigger man. If they can add some other pieces around him, in particular develop that offensive line, this offense can turn into something. It's going to take a little while, and it's going to take some effort and maybe a few new pieces here and there, but it's not like they're totally just flopping around.
On play action. Oh, nice spin move by Cato Nelson, and then delivers a strike a little high for Julian Hicks.
Real nice flip turn by Nelson, getting out of the grasp, because that was a serious pressure coming from Vaden.
Now you show me a team that is 0 for whatever on third down, and I'll show you a team that's likely going to have a hard time winning. This is 3rd down and 10, and Akron is 0 for 6 on 3rd down.
That's got to be a huge point of emphasis for Tom Arth and his staff. Those are the win downs. That's where you win a ball game. Blitz coming.
4 in the pattern, and no chance. Just swallowed it up. That's Beltram on the sack, but there's about 4 white jerseys there.
Yeah, they were bringing the house, but they brought it from off. So that means the quarterback has a little bit of time, does Nelson, because these blitzers, you see, they're stationary and then they go. A little bit of a low snap cost him a split second, and then as you mentioned, Beltram right on the spot, and that senior's playing really well of late.
Fair catch called for at the 12-yard line by Latu. This season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, All-State will make a contribution to the university's General Scholarship Fund. Thank you, All-State. Now, Eastern Michigan back on the field with that offense that has really been in cruise control much of the way. Now, if you're doing push-ups tonight, again, a wind chill of 7.
How about the guy in the end? No gloves either. He said it don't matter. I'm tougher than the weather.
I think at some point, former National Mascot of the Year, Zippy, has got to join the group there on the push-ups.
The warmest person in the house with that big costume on.
For my money, there's nothing more entertaining than a kangaroo doing push-ups in the cold.
I don't know how to argue that.
There really is. It's one of the few things I'll say tonight that's indisputable.
Right. And I'm the key disputer. I can dispute anything. I'm letting that one go.
You're usually the antagonist, but even you had to concur with that.
I couldn't agree more.
Second down at 6. Oh, it's been that kind of night. Your heart goes out to the Akron Zips in danger of falling to 0-10 under first-year coach Tom Arth.
You know, I go back to, though, he says that he's getting the feedback from the community that the culture is changing. He's getting great reports. Academically, they had their best semester ever this past semester under Tom Arth, and they're getting the house in order. It's not showing up on game day yet, but that's really not where it's going to show up first. And then you got to weather that storm, and you got to have people who understand what's going on to let this thing have its course.
Well, you hear the expression all the time, change the culture. And the culture doesn't get changed usually in one season. And they've got their work cut out for them. They know that this season is what it is. And you just try to find who your best guys are and start winning some recruiting battles. They might have won the battle on the line of scrimmage on that play as you look at the resume of head coach Tom Arth. He's got some good ties to John Carroll University, a Division III power, former D3 National Coach of the Year. He coached there, he played there, and he was at UT Chattanooga, the FCS ranks for a couple of years. And you know, this was his job. His family is from here. He's got 5 children. They get to see their grandparents now. 3 girls, 2 boys. You know a thing or two about having 5 kids.
I do, and from what I remember, it was a lot of fun. I think I've blocked a lot of it out. But, you know, it's interesting. Chris Creighton was in a similar situation, and then he was a play caller, offensive coordinator, all that. When he took the Eastern job, he realized he had to be culture coach full-time, all the time. Tom Arth took on the play calling duties this year. Wonder if he might reconsider that one going down the road based on
timeout on the field
sees.
for media.
Outstanding 66-yard punt. Akron back on offense when we come back. Sunday afternoon, it's hardwood action in Storrs, Connecticut. Number 15, Florida, taking on the Huskies. The last time the Gators came to Storrs, 2013, Shabazz Napier. He had the national championship squad at the game winner at the buzzer in a 1-point win. 3 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be on ESPN and the ESPN app. He is Ray Bentley. I am Mike Morgan. We are
inside the snow globe.
Inside the snow globe, where temperatures are quite cozy. Down on the field, the snow has been coming down. The wind chill is under 10, and that's the best throw of the night, and it could be trouble. Scipio down the sideline, and finally Akron has found the end zone. 87 yards.
Tim Scipio showed you some speed on that one, and the Snow Angels in the end zone. Why not? That's a beautiful throw from Cato Nelson. Scipio got the lead on the defender, got the separation. The ball dropped in perfectly, and that's a home run there. That's a long play for this team. 85 yards, second longest in Akron history.
And the first touchdown for Akron since the month of September when they played UMass. Timothy Scipio, a sophomore out of Coconut Creek High School.
Bit of a drought. We're into November here, and they hadn't scored since September, at least a touchdown. And that's the way to do it if you're going to do it.
First touchdown in 18 quarters for the Zips. The extra point is true, and Akron is on the board.
You can see Scipio out on the edge, and it's just a foot race, basically. He wins right off the bat, running by Vines. Perfect throw, and then the foot race. I'm taking Scipio in this one.
With the hoodie flying out of the back.
A little air drag on the back end. He still won the race.
Yeah, Snow Angels. I'm surprised more snow hasn't collected. It's been snowing for the better part of 24 hours, a few breaks in between. It's just light enough to not leave too much residue.
Yeah, they swept it off pre-game, but you can see just little patches of it, but it's mostly flurries at this point. In fact, up from our perspective, it looks like it's snowing up sometimes.
Yeah,
here.
right. Again, if you're Akron, you might not win this game, but every big play like that counts. Of course, you get rid of a nasty streak devoid of a touchdown, and you get a big play in your passing game, which hasn't come very often this season.
Something to celebrate.
Absolutely.
You know, it's little small victories, little things like that. Build them, stack them one on another, and then you don't bother looking down the road. The road will come to you, and that's how you build a program.
I know statistically the box score is not going to be kind to Cato Nelson, but I like what I see out of that young man.
He's
You get him some help, he's got a chance to really have a big year next season for Akron. Now Eastern Michigan will go back to work with 19 seconds to go in the third quarter.
I believe you on the Cato Nelson part of things. That is not the issue with this offense. And so often, you see a struggling offense, and you immediately assume it's a quarterback problem, and because of the way the game's played, and so much is on that guy's lap these days. But that's not the issue here. Cato Nelson's, he's good.
Little pitch to the near side, and that'll be the final play of quarter number 3. Alvin Davis racks up another tackle on Shaq Van, who's over the century mark tonight. Akron with perhaps their highlight of the year on offense on that last drive.
Really nice. Really nice execution on this long ball. Lay it out there, let your guy go get it, and then, hey, why not do a little snow angel?
NFL Primetime is back. Primetime's available Sunday through Wednesday only on ESPN+.
Oh, yeah, the guys back at it.
I love it.
All the highlights and breakdowns.
I remember when Berman hit me with a "I don't drive a Bentley."
Yeah, you got Bermanized.
Yeah, and neither do I, Chris, so we got that in common.
That was the thing. I mean, when I was a kid, on a Sunday night, you weren't getting highlights anywhere else.
No.
And an hour straight, those two guys breaking
So
down every game.
entertaining, too. And to me, that was the best thing on TV back in the day. We used to, my brother and I would sit down and giggle for an hour.
Third down and 5 here for the Eagles. Quarter number 4, Eastern Michigan trying to pick up win number 5. Trying to become bowl eligible for the 3rd time in 4 years. Blitz on the way. Throw is off the mark, a little bit short. Intended for Dylan Drummond, but good coverage on the play by Jordan Riley.
That ball hit Riley right in the back. And there's no such thing as face guarding, so you don't have to worry about that. But good coverage. He's in the right spot, because had it not hit him, that would have been caught. Pretty nice throw into the corner, trying to get it over the top there by Mike Glass. One of the few times we've seen him put touch on the ball. Most of the shots coming from him are lasers.
Yeah, he likes to show off, put some steam on it.
Thank you very much.
A knuckler. Look out. Oh, no. Off the hand of the returner. And he's fortunate it got out of bounds. Jeremy Knight inexplicably tried to field that thing, and that's not an easy punt to haul in.
And he's going to have some sort of explanation, and it ain't going to pass muster. I'll tell you that right now. This is a no-no from the word go. You get away from that ball, and he just reached up and swatted it. I don't understand. I guess
ball was touched by the receiving team. Move forward, still a kick. It is first down. Akron at the spot out of bounds.
Oh, there you go. They didn't call the intentional bat on that, and I think that's good. I don't know that Knight even knew what he was doing. And instinctive, just oh, there's a ball, whack.
Maybe in highlight, that's a good play.
Yeah.
1st and 10, good field position for the Zips.
They want to go deep again.
And that time the throw is off target. Cato Nelson trying to find Jeremiah Knight.
And he had Knight open. And that's one that Cato Nelson wants back. But he initially was looking down the left sideline, trying to capture lightning in the bottle again and throwing a deep one. But good coverage by Eastern Michigan, and the corner, Jordan Riley, took that away.
By the way, that pass play on the last drive, the touchdown to Scipio for 87 yards, that's the longest pass play in the MAC this season. You see Nelson being a lot more aggressive, but a tough snap. He has to scoop it up and will just cruise out of bounds. He has seen way too much of that this season.
Yeah, you know, that one's more on him. I think he just kind of dropped that one. That one wasn't bad, and he just lost his concentration, trying to get his eyes down the field too quickly, and just kind of let that one slide out of his hands. So we'll give the center a break on that one. We'll put that one on the queue.
Put that one on the...
spread it around.
Okay.
Either way, it's a problem for Tom Arth.
Yeah, Bryce Peterson is awfully appreciative of you dispersing
looking out for the big guy.
Yeah, absolutely. 0-7 on 3rd down are the Zips with time. Pass caught underneath. Pass midfield, and the second effort's going to make it really close. Julian Hicks on the reception. If he didn't get it, have to think they would go for it here. Hubbard on the stop for Eastern Michigan.
Well, it looks to me like they have to get to the 47, and that tip of that ball is about as close as you can get to it and not be there. I would ask for a measurement.
I was going to say, how would you not get a measurement here?
Right. If I'm Tom Arth, I'm going to insist upon a measurement. Although when there's a line involved, and clearly it's the 47, it's easier for the officials to say, no, you didn't make it. It's this line, and you're short.
Timeout, Akron. They're first of the half. This will also be a media timeout.
The Zips are going to go for it on 4th down when we come back. It's a 4th down and inches. The last play, 3rd down, looked like a pretty good mark on after further review here, right?
Yeah, you can see, even though the yellow line is not official, it's right on the yard to gain. And I think it's a really good spot, putting it a couple inches shy, and that's what we're looking at right here on this 4th down for the Zips.
Burton in the backfield on 4th down and short. This has been a problem spot, 4th down tonight for Akron. Quarterback keeps it, and that should do it. Cato Nelson behind the left side of that offensive line picks up 3.
And there's an art to running the quarterback sneak, and a lot of it is pre-snap, just looking at where is that little seam, where can I squeeze through, and then hoping the defense doesn't stunt into that spot when you make that final decision. And it worked out well for Nelson on that particular attempt.
Was part of the left side of that offensive line is Xavier Gray, big number 77, all 6'9", over 300 pounds of him. He was a 450-pound young man as a junior in high school, and give him credit, he just woke up one day and said, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to do whatever it takes to lose the weight. And he has used that experience as a mentor. Beautiful looking deep ball, and incomplete. Intended for Julian Hicks.
Yeah, as you were mentioning, a mentoring opportunity on Twitter. So he's got a lot of kids that have similar issues that write into him, and he supports them and tells them his story, and what a great story it is. He's dropped about 150 pounds in the last couple of years. And one day he said, just woke up and looked at himself and said, I'm not doing this no more. And you know, fortunately for him, Tommy Sigorski, the offensive line coach, offensive coordinator for the Zips, had him on his list, went back and checked with him, and decided that they weren't big enough here at Akron. One of the issues up front was size. Well, he's got a size answer in this young offensive tackle.
He's got his first career start tonight and continues to try to inspire young men out there who reach out to him on social media and tries to encourage them in ways that they can also shed the weight. You see, I mean, he's obviously a hulk of a man now, but if you can imagine him at 100 pounds more than what you're looking at right there.
Yeah, it's amazing, the transformation and the dedication, the mental toughness that it took for him to turn that thing around. I got nothing but admiration. And you mentioned it's his first college start. He only started 10 games in high school in his senior year, so he's a young one with all kinds of potential and a really high ceiling.
On 3rd down and 5, trips to the near side for Nelson. Play goes the other way, and not much there for Micaiah Burton, a walk-on.
Take a look at the big man working on this one. And that's what you call half a pancake. Give me some syrup. That's how you do it.
Went for seconds.
Yeah. Belly up to that breakfast bar.
Pat Abrams saying, man, what do I got to do to get away from this guy?
It reminds me of trying to wrestle with your dad when you're a little kid. You got no chance.
Another 4th down conversion for Akron. Why not? And again, it's Nelson running for his life and threads the needle complete at the 30 tonight. Beautiful play. 9 yards and a 1st down.
I don't know how he got that thing in there, because Vince Calhoun was draped all over the receiver Knight, and yet Nelson sees the unblocked man coming at him. He puts him on the ground with just a move and then makes an unbelievable throw.
Cannot throw that any better. And there was nothing wrong with the coverage by Vince Calhoun, who's got to be shaking his head saying, how did he do that?
What happened? I thought I was going to get that one.
The drive continues. All of a sudden, Akron, the last couple of drives, showing life on offense. Nelson with time. Coxon fires to the end zone, and just out of the reach of Hicks.
Yeah, I wouldn't have counted. Hicks stepped out of bounds. The official put a hat on the ground, so that one wasn't going to matter either way. But I like throwing the shot down the field and showing some things. And you'll see Hicks steps out, and then the hat will come off.
It helps that he's being held, right?
Well, that's didn't see that when he was taking his hat off, apparently.
And Kevin McGill getting a good chunk of jersey there on that play. Got away with it.
But the key to this offense moving is up front. This offensive line has played the best game I've seen, and that's in the last 4.
Again, Nelson running for his life. Another deep ball. And deflected and picked. What a play. A balancing act interception by Brody Hoying. His 2nd interception of the year.
Had that ball been thrown on time, Hoying wouldn't have had that opportunity, but he kept on fighting. The ball was a little bit late coming in.
Moving on the field is interception. 1st down, Eastern Michigan.
Got his eyes around
the field for media.
Found the football and comes up with it, going the other way. We'll take another peek at it. But there's little doubt in my mind. This is an interception for Brody Hoying, his 2nd on the season.
ESPN Plus is your home for thousands of live events and exclusive originals. Sign up today at ESPNplus.com.
Saturday at 8 Eastern on ESPN Plus, our UFC Fight Night main card is highlighted by Jacare Sosa moving up to 205 to battle top 5 light heavyweight Jan Blachowicz in the 5-round main event from Brazil. To order the main card in English and Spanish, go to ESPNplus.com. Alongside Ray Bentley, I'm Mike Morgan with you here in Akron, Ohio on a snow-filled, chilly and frigid Tuesday night. Action coming at you. Eastern Michigan trying to get another step closer to bowl eligibility. A win would even them up at 5-5. And speaking of 5-5, how about 5 of 5 in the red zone with 5 touchdowns?
Yeah, and this is what Chris Creighton's goal was. Play clean games. Don't have Eastern Michigan beat Eastern Michigan. They've done a great job of it tonight. The penalties, lack thereof, the execution on third down, the red zone, punching in the touchdowns, no turnovers. They're just playing really clean football. I got to say, I believe more games are lost than are won, if you know what I'm saying. More people beat themselves than get beat by the opponent. If you can clean that end up, you're taking a big step in the right direction.
16 yards for Cannon as we're under 10 minutes to go now. Eastern Michigan can be very patient here with a 28-point lead. And a great night for Mike Glass, 20 of 25, 246 yards. And then cashing in the red zone has been Shaq Vann with 3 touchdowns tonight. A couple yards before John Aleko racks up another tackle.
Just play by John Aleko. All-conference preseason selection, the Mid-American Conference. One of the heart and soul of this defense, along with Alvin Davis, and then up front, Devontae Jest, the nose tackle. Those are the leaders at the various levels of this Zip defense.
Shaq Vann, the lone back and a pistol look. Vann gets it and is stonewalled near the line of scrimmage. We're about 20 years into the midweek MAC games that you've been able to enjoy. The MACtion on our ESPN networks. And the thing I love about it, Ray, is that it's a great opportunity for this league to get a national platform that it might not otherwise get. And, you know, obviously they've worked it out. These teams, of course, had a bye this past week, so you don't have to worry about not enough rest to play a Tuesday or Wednesday night game. And I think people just enjoy being able to watch college football in the middle of the week.
I know I do. I can't wait till MACtion gets going. I mean, a night without football around my place, that's not a great evening necessarily. And then having played in the MAC and seeing the impact that this television package midweek has had on the league as far as notoriety and the help of the recruiting and all those things. It's been a boon for the Mid-American Conference.
It certainly has. And it's been fun for us as well. The fun will continue. 7:41 to go. Eastern Michigan on top.
Be sure to order your tickets at josephs.com/tickets. Call or text 888-99 Akron. Turn your attention now to Zip Vision for tonight's Field of the Electric, the electrifying play of the game. This 65-yard touchdown pass from Caleb Nelson to Scipio got the Zips on board in the second half.
ESPN celebrating 150 years of college football.
It's that time of year we start thinking about who's in the playoff, and we start thinking about who's going to be winning the Heisman Trophy. John William Heisman, 1869 to 1936. He was the football and baseball head coach at Bucknell College. How is that significant? Bucknell College is now known as Akron University. So John Heisman with a nice-looking statue.
You know, when Heisman was coaching here, the way football was played, you either rolled the ball back or kicked it back to start a play. He actually invented the snap here at Akron. And
fumble on the play after a gain of 5.
Spit out a little late.
And recovered by the Eagles.
It's like Devontae Jess a little slow getting up after this one. Shaq Band is coming through the line, gets that. I think he was down. No, he was on top of the defender when the ball came out. So that's a high ball.
On the field as the runner's knee was down prior to the ball being fumbled. First down, Eastern Michigan.
Okay.
I don't know. From what I saw, it looked like the Shaq Band was laying on a defender when the ball came out, but Michael Scott on the bottom of that pile.
Devontae just walking off the field, the senior out of Ocala, Florida. Down south on I-75 from Gainesville, Florida.
Let's take another look at that fumble and let's see if Shaq Band his knee was on the ground or is he on top of the defender. Unless his other knee looks like, no, he does not hit the ground. It looks like he is totally on top of the defender, but it's a moot point as Eastern recovered it anyway.
First down and 10. Clock ticking away as we near the 7-minute mark of this game. Turner in at tailback. And the carry as Alvin Davis stops him after a 6-yard pickup. We were talking about the Heisman Trophy. Okay, here's the Heisman Trophy hopefuls. There's really a couple more guys we could add to this list, and there's a good chance they would be added. I would certainly put Justin Fields on the radar.
You have a vote.
I've got a vote. I've voted every year since 2007, and I can tell you, after what I saw LSU at Alabama, Joe Burrow has now defeated 4 top 10 teams. He's about to set all kinds of records in accuracy. He can run, he can throw, he's a leader, he's everything LSU has been lacking. It's going to be really hard for Joe Burrow not to win this award.
Unless he falls off the face of the planet, I don't see how he doesn't win it. The impact he's had is pretty good. As is this run by Mike Glass, who took a broken play and turned it into a huge game.
And you see what he did at the end?
I mean, he goes the wrong way, or the back does right at the beginning. It's like, you know what? We got to put this one in, coach. This worked pretty good. The old quarterback confusion run.
Watch the heads-up play here at the end. Watch him stay in bounds, or at least try to.
Yeah, understands that the clock is their friend now, and they want to keep their friend running.
Mike Glass headed for an all-conference type season. 44 yards on that run. He's been about as accurate as you can ask, particularly on a night like tonight, but the weather is less than ideal for any quarterback.
That one, they gave him 44 yards on. He's up at 84 yards rushing tonight to go along with his sterling passing numbers.
Shaq Van gobbles up 3 on first down. Now, Eastern Michigan certainly in great shape to pick up their 5th win of the year. And you look at what they've got down the road. At Northern Illinois next week, Kent State at home, and then they hope at some point that will allow them to get back to bowl eligibility and what possibly make their 3rd bowl game in 4 years. Great job once again by Chris Creighton this season.
Yeah, I would put them as slight favorites in both of those games. They're going to have to go execute and get it done, but this Eastern team looks to me like they're bowl worthy.
Down the sideline. And another touchdown. Shaq Van give him 4. 17-yard scamper. And Van has found the end zone for the 4th time, a career high for Shaq Van, the senior out of South Bend, Indiana.
Boy, and he put Jalen Hooks on the ground with a stiff arm. Hooks don't want to see that film. I can promise you he will not want to see that play, because Shaq Van just manhandled him on his way into the end zone.
Ryland hammers it home. 42-7 Eastern Michigan, a night that Shaq Van will not forget anytime soon.
No, and his buddies are over there giving him the numbers, but I tell you what, the number I like is the one he put on Jalen Hooks. That ain't right.
Our Week 11 Monday Night Football matchup is in Mexico City. Patrick Mahomes and the AFC West leading Chiefs take on Phillip Rivers. And the Chargers, Kansas City has won 8 of the last 9 against the Chargers dating back to 2014. That's at 8 Eastern on ESPN. Coverage beginning with Monday Night Countdown at 6 o'clock. Now, some habits are hard to break. I was this close, Ray Bentley, to saying the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, I hear you. I still call the Cardinals St. Louis. So.
Wow.
That's telling you a little something.
That is. From the 9.
At least I don't call them Chicago. I'm not that far back.
I was wondering if you were going that far back.
I know it, but
oh, goodness.
My growing and learning stopped at a certain point, and it was post-Chicago Cardinals.
There you go.
Right around St. Louis Cardinal time.
Oh, under 5 minutes to go. Let's talk some more MAC football.
Levante Bellamy, the year he's having for Western Michigan. 20 rushing touchdowns, leading the country, and Brian Koback getting it done at Toledo. Patterson, a really good sophomore running back out of Buffalo, and then his big blocker, Kazarczyk, is one of the best offensive linemen in the country, not let alone the MAC. And then Jonathan Ward up at Central Michigan in a comeback season, playing really good football.
Pass caught at the 30 and down to the 38-yard line. That is actually Daryl Long. We go deep into the depth chart to find that name.
Yeah, they had basically 2 guys on the depth chart at the beginning of the week. They're gone.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Nick Johns is the starter, and Daryl Long is the backup at tight end. So they're getting deeper in this roster as the season's going on.
Big hole up the middle. Firing through it is Burton.
Myrick on the tackle. We haven't talked Terry Myrick much today. Number 32, linebacker, who, his strength is the blitzer. He's the tip of the spear. They haven't blitzed much tonight, and that's kind of kept Myrick out of the spotlight a little bit.
Penalty flags flying all over the place on that one. I'll say one thing that I like for Akron tonight. That for the most part, they played a clean game. Not a ton of penalties, just 1 turnover. They came into this game with an astounding stat.
Holding. Offense number 72. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. 2nd down.
Only fitting they would have a holding penalty right as I spit that out.
Right.
But they came in with a turnover margin of -16. In my years of calling college football, I don't know if I've seen that. It's going to be -17 after tonight's game if nothing changes. But still, they've cleaned a lot of things up. Clearly, they're going to have to do a lot of recruiting. Tom Arth and his staff, they know that.
That's why they brought him here. They feel like he
absolutely
can have the advantage in that regard, in particular in this area. And, the offensive line is dramatically improved from what I saw on film, and I don't know if it's the addition of Xavier Gray coming in at the left tackle position, which allows everyone else to play where they normally would. But the offensive line has been much better tonight.
Completed pass at the 38. Another penalty flag all the way on the far side. Now things are getting a little bit ragged. Some of the backups in on both sides. And
Ryan Knight's been impressive throughout the evening. He'll fight for everything. And he's just a sophomore. They've got some receivers coming back. Julian Hicks is just a sophomore. Michael Matheson, a freshman. Scipio's a sophomore. And Nate Stewart's a redshirt junior. This whole group pretty much is coming back next year, and that bodes well for Cato Nelson and company. And they can get that offensive line to gel a little bit. This offense won't be bad.
An eligible man downfield. Number 13 was covered in formation and went out for the pass. 5-yard penalty from previous spot. 2nd down.
That's Daryl Long, and he is listed as a tight end. You heard one of the coaches saying he's a tight end.
Yeah, but what that coach didn't realize is that the split end was also on the line,
right.
And so he becomes an ineligible receiver, and if he goes downfield, that's a penalty and a good catch by the officials. And another little small detail mistake. for Tom Arth's Akron Zips.
There's the offensive lineman, the former offensive lineman, former center, now the OC, Tommy Zagorski.
He's been with Coach Arth since back in John Carroll days.
That's right. John Carroll, the alma mater of Coach Arth. Nice juggling catch by Julian Hicks. We haven't even mentioned they don't have perhaps their top receiver, the freshman Michael Matheson, tonight, but they've got some guys that they can certainly build upon.
Yeah, I like this receiving group, and this is a good job of keeping track of the football, because it looked like it was going to be tipped right into the defensive back's hands. Noski LaFleur almost had him. Noski almost had an Oski.
I like that. Put that to work if it happens.
Yes, I will. I'm saving that one. Oski, for those of you who don't know, is a term defenses use to tell everyone they got an interception.
Nice reception on 3rd and long for a first down. That's Jeremiah Knight. He's played well tonight. That's his 5th catch of the night and 91 yards.
Yeah, he's got a nice connection with Cato Nelson. And Zips are continuing to fight. I'll give them credit for that. And I haven't seen any indications of them curling up after going behind. They continue to work, and that's a testament to Tom Arth and the culture he's trying to breed here with this football program.
Tom Arth from Northeast Ohio, specifically University Heights, Ohio, near Cleveland, John Carroll University.
And he was coaching down at UTC, Tennessee Chattanooga, with no real intention of going anywhere, and his phone rang.
Yeah.
And he said it was his, it was Akron talking about would he be interested in the job, and he said he lit up. He was very excited about that possibility of going home and being able to bring his 5 kids back to where Grandma and Grandpa don't live too far away, back where all their friends were and everything. It was a real boon, not only professionally but personally, for Tom Arth.
UT Chat is actually one of the better FCS jobs out there. That would not have been maybe the easiest of decisions for a lot of coaches out there. And for him, it certainly was to get back near home. Pass over the middle, wide open target at the 10. Jeremiah Knight continues to find creases in that secondary. 27 yards.
Hey, he split the 2 deep zone. A lot of times Nelson's limping back up to the line, took a hit at the end of that one, but you can split the seam in a 2 deep zone. You got a big play, and that's exactly what they did.
Nelson out of the shotgun. And a handoff straight up the gut and stopped right at the 1-yard line as Burton.
The ball carrier.
90 seconds remaining, and really the only thing left in suspense here is if Akron will find the end zone for the 2nd time in this ball game, and only the 2nd time since the month of September. Gonna go through the air and off target that time. Nelson trying to find Scipio, who caught the touchdown earlier. Freddie McGee on the coverage.
Good coverage by McGee. Even though he never got his eyes back to the ball, he was in position to eliminate Scipio's ability to bring that in. If I'm Akron, I'm going back to the ground. I want to pound one in. Flush of confidence.
Yeah. The one thing they don't have that they certainly will look to get in recruiting is a big back. They got a very undersized backfield. They will throw it, and wide open. A trip to the end zone for Julian Hicks. Touchdown Zips.
Nice little design to this play. Hicks goes in motion across the formation. The defense doesn't react to him, so it's a really easy decision for Cato Nelson to zip it on out there, and the Zips, they put 2 in the end zone tonight.
I mean, you go a month and a half without finding pay dirt, and then you find it twice in 1 half.
You take the small victories at this point in your development of this program.
10-play drive, 77 yards. And the touchdown pass from Nelson, his second. Extra point good. 42-14 our score with 1:09 to go. Sports Center tonight. After number 14 Oregon takes on number 13 Memphis with Kenny Mayne and John Anderson. They'll have Seth Greenberg in studio with reactions to the game and what's behind a Steelers turnaround. Sports Center after college basketball on ESPN and the ESPN app. Well, I might be able to help out on that Steelers question. They're playing some D again in Steel City.
And it all of a sudden came back to him. I'd be interested to hear what Coach Cristobal has to say about his Oregon Ducks as they get close to the edge of those college football playoffs. I'm sure they're going to have a little showdown with Utah to decide that one out there before it's all over.
So Akron will have something to smile about here in the second half, but Eastern Michigan, of course, will be smiling back on the 3-hour bus ride.
They're setting up for an onside kick, which they actually lead the MAC. They're 1 for 2 in onside kick recoveries this season. But I like it. Why not? Tom R says we're going to play to the end. We're going to go for everything we can get. Wants the ball again.
And that really never had a chance.
No, kicked it a little too hard. Didn't get the what you like is that bounce pop where the ball will pop up in the air, and didn't happen.
So the Eagles will in all likelihood just run out the clock, take a couple of knees here, and get ready for the rest of the slate as Chris Creighton and his squad try to make their third bowl game in 4 years. Again, they will have a matchup next week at Northern Illinois, and then it's Kent State at home. One win will get them in the mix. 2 wins would almost be a virtual lock for another bowl game.
It would be. They take all the 7 and 5 teams before they even look at 6 and 6 teams. And
there is no foul for a kick out of bounds. The player who touched the ball started inbounds, touched the ball, then landed out of bounds. That's legal. The clock should read 1 minute, 8 seconds. 108, please.
I'm glad they cleared that one up for us.
That's certainly.
I couldn't have slept tonight.
Still a full moon, right?
Yeah, it is. And been a wild one in some respects this evening.
See that ground game total, 247 rushing yards and counting for Eastern Michigan. When they haven't been doing that, Mike Glass has been precise through the air. Really just a well-played game all around for the Eagles.
Tom Art not going to use any of those timeouts. Going to have mercy on all the fans who stuck around for this one. Get them out of here and let this clock tick down. But saw some signs of life from this Akron program. I thought the offensive line was vastly improved. You know, they've got some skilled people. They're just a little bit away. They need a couple years, but I think they're on the right track. And then looks like Eastern's heading for a bowl again. They just got to finish strong.
Hutchinson at quarterback. Hands it off. And that is Boone on the carry, and that should be the final play of the game. Eastern Michigan will improve to 5-5 on the year, and a couple more cracks at getting bowl eligible. A nice victory on the road for Chris Creighton and his club.
That's the end of the football game.
First win here for Eastern Michigan since 1995. It's been a while. They'll celebrate that bus ride on the way home.
Yep, just 3 hours of smiles and then back to work for the matchup next week against Northern Illinois. Ray Belly, it's been a pleasure. Some final thoughts.
Pleasure's mine. I think this was a good football game, relatively clean based on the weather that we had, and Eastern Michigan played very well tonight.
As always, we appreciate you tuning in for a little midweek action. It was cold, but Eastern Michigan remains hot. For Ray Bentley, Mike Morgan saying so long from Akron, Ohio, 42-14, your final score. So long, everybody.